Here we go with video 16, and this time I'm going to do something a little different. If you stick around, there may be pictures, even video, of the project that I'm going to talk about. Now, this is for the guy who had the gold digger, the one that had the very nice house up on a hill. He tasked me with a unique problem. He said he was having trouble sleeping, especially sleeping in. He was more of a night owl, and he liked his mornings to be peaceful. But he lived in an area where there was a sloped hill, and most of his neighbors had souped up cars, high-end Maseratis and Ferraris and Porsches and the occasional Corvette ZR1, etc. And also pretty high-end choppers, I'll say Harley Davidsons and such. So these people would accelerate to get up to hell, and this noise would just shoot up line of sight right to his master bedroom window, which was overlooking this hedge and property. So he said, "Michael, can you do something about the noise?" So I brought in a sound engineer, and we did some shots, took some measurements from various different angles, and we decided that line of sight was about 10 foot high to get from the road to his roof line of his house. So I designed a barrier. Now here's the thing. The barrier had to be hidden. He couldn't get approval for it because there was not only an art jury, but because they lived in a covenant and there were rules to be followed. And these construction projects like this would probably not be approved or would take too long to get done. So he said, "Michael, you have to make it so that I can take it back down and stack it up somewhere should I be notified that there was an issue or that there was going to be a spot inspection." So I said, "Oh my God, I've got to put this up, and we're talking 10 foot high. It's got to be strong enough to withstand the wind as well as sturdy enough to hold the plexiglass panels that are 1/4 inch thick, and I'm going 10 foot high." So I came up with a way. And then I did a video because I was using my son and his friend for the cheaper labor, and it was quite intense. So I did a video, and I'm going to put that video in right after I stop talking. And I put in some of the tricks of the trade, some of my secrets to this construction, to this engineering. And you'll see those if you stick around towards the end. Enjoy. As I said, we're using a two-man auger here, and there's two men. There's Garrett, my son, on the right, and his friend Tommy. And they're working it. Trying to dig 5 foot deep holes. Yes, 5 foot deep. So that we can place in these steel pipes, because this system had to be easily disassembled and removed if there was ever an inspection notification from the art jury or the people that enforce the rules in that neighborhood, that affluent neighborhood. So we had our struggles. We had to fight for every inch of depth.
And there's Tommy painting away. Say hi, Tommy.
And we had our share of obstructions. I had to relocate sprinkler pipes and drain pipes and fight with rocks and clay, as you've seen in the text. This also had to be not easily seen from the road because they weren't getting a permit for it. They were never going to get approval for it. So I had to make it blend in. So I went and got some of the leaves from the surrounding shrubs, the privacy shrubs, and I took them to Home Depot and I had them color matched. And I used this high-end paint that they have, that Bear has. It's their Bear Marquee. And this is just one coat painted on the Bear lumber, not B-E-H-R.
Okay, this is 4:40 in the afternoon. You should be able to hear the noise or lack thereof. It's definitely muffled quieter.
Another challenge with keeping it hidden was not to have a big gate assembly, so we did this secret panel with piano hinges and little cotter pins, kind you see on the top of race cars, just to keep the swinging panel shut. Once the wall was up, there was a difference in the atmosphere. There was an echo chamber created behind the wall, and I had to do some modifications to the pool equipment roof system so that we could put some sound insulation in there and stop some of that noise. But everything you played music-wise or even voices kind of sounded different because they didn't just trail away, they came back at you. Some additional background, I used 10-foot pipes that were 8-inch in diameter, and I cut them in half. So we had 5-foot embedment. We bought 16-foot 4x4s, so we had 5 foot in the ground, and actually, when you do the math, that's 11 foot above ground. So that gives us roughly a foot to play with to shoot the laser and cut them all off at the same elevation. And we had a curvature to the wall to follow the hedges, so it looked like it was always there and didn't jump out at you, it didn't stand out. After this, there was more work to be done. I also went ahead and added soundproofing to the 4 Bel Air style doors. You know, they're mostly glass and they're dual pane, but still there was echo resonance. And the sound engineer said, well, there's ways that you can put glass with laminates between the layers, and it was pretty expensive. And he wasn't willing to go for that. So I said, well, how about we order some acoustic panels that I can add to the top of these doors? So we did that. And they were easily removable. They had tabs on them, and you could pull them out when you needed to, if you needed to, like when you had a party or something. But this panel, these 4 panels, they served 2 purposes. Not only did they help muffle more of the sound, but they also provided for this night owl some room darkening, some blackout, and they worked very well for that because, like I said, they were 1 inch thick and they were fabric and they were dense and heavy. But you know what? The gold digger, she said to me later, she says, you know, he doesn't like to sleep in anymore. And yeah, right. So she took the panels out, and who knows what she did with them. They were pretty expensive, but again, did she care about money when it wasn't hers to begin with? So that's what life is when you have somebody in your life that you treasure, even if it's only superficial. But I moved on, as I said. I would have liked to hear what the concert sounded like with that sound wall up, but I didn't stick around long enough to find out. But I do have to say that if you're in the market for something specialized and engineered and unique, and you don't necessarily want to follow the rules or have time to follow the rules, then I might be your guy. And right now, I am working in the Granbury, Glen Rose, Pecan Plantation, and surrounding areas. So if you're interested, look me up at MrFixer.com, MrPhixer.com. And I'll see you on the next one. Video 17.